I want you to think just for a second about the physical feeling of buying something.
Oh, yeah. Like the muscle memory of it.
Right. You know that muscle memory. It's um it's the satisfying click of a checkout button on your phone, or like the little affirmative beep when you tap your card at a coffee shop, or even just the old school swipe of a magnetic stripe.
Hmm.
That tiny physical action, the tap, the click, the swipe, is the absolute foundation of the entire global economy. You decide you want something, you take a physical action to confirm it, and the money moves.
Yeah, it's totally biological.
Exactly. It is an ecosystem built 100% around human intent and biological initiation. But in the stack of industry reports, research notes, and pilot program data we are diving into today, that human trigger is being quietly erased.
Which is wild to see on paper.
It really is. We are looking at the rise of agentic AI in global payment systems.
Yeah.
Our mission for this deep dive is to figure out what happens when the global economy's most fundamental trigger, the moment of payment, transitions from human intent to machine execution.
Right, taking the human out of the loop.
We are exploring a world where your software doesn't just help you shop, it actually spends your money for you. Okay, let's unpack this. What if the transaction doesn't begin with you at all, but with an algorithm?
The scale of that transition is profound when you consider the history of artificial intelligence in finance. For years now, AI has been an assistant, like a passenger in our financial lives.
Right.
It analyzes your spending habits to recommend a credit card. It flags a suspicious charge as potential fraud, or, it helps a bank calculate your risk profile to decide if you qualify for a mortgage.
But it's always waiting for us to actually do something.
Exactly. Across all those applications, the AI has always been passive. It has advised us, and we made the final call. We are now observing the leap from AI as a passive advisor to AI as an active agent.
Wow.
Yeah, software is being granted the agency to independently initiate the movement of capital based on its own real-time analysis.
Which honestly sounds like the setup for a dystopian sci-fi movie, but looking at these sources, I mean, it is happening right now in the real world. We aren't talking about theoretical white papers anymore.
No, definitely not.
Visa has launched a new initiative called the Agentic Ready program, and they are actively piloting this technology across Europe in collaboration with major financial institutions
Yeah.
like Commerzbank and DZ Bank.
Yeah, those are massive players.
Right. And to understand the massive risk of letting machines spend our money, we have to look at the mechanical reality of how these financial giants are actually testing this. They aren't trying to replace the existing financial system overnight.
They are trying to evolve it.
Right. Evolve it so that software can take on the responsibility of executing a purchase.
The terminology operating behind the scenes here is crucial to understand. Agentic means possessing agency-like, the capacity to act independently. In the context of the Visa pilot, the practical application involves software that doesn't just scrape the internet for the best price and send you an alert. It actively negotiates, compares prices across thousands of dynamic vendor APIs, and then completes the checkout process entirely on its own.
So it's literally buying things.
Yeah, it essentially acts as a digital proxy for the account holder.
It sounds less like a traditional financial tool and more like, I don't know, handing your credit card to an incredibly smart but highly literal personal assistant and sending them to the mall at light speed.
That's a great way to put it.
You tell them exactly what you want and they just go do it instantly. But looking at the mechanics of this, I keep bumping up against a massive vulnerability.
The glitches.
Yes. If I configure a rule for my AI agent to buy a specific model of a server whenever the price drops below a certain threshold, what stops the AI from accidentally buying 10,000 units because of a weird decimal glitch on the vendor's website?
That's the nightmare scenario, right?
Exactly. Like, how much autonomy does this thing actually have with my money?
Well, the distinction between full, unrestrained autonomy and what the industry is calling controlled delegation is the core of this entire pilot program. Visa and their banking partners are not building artificial general intelligence that wakes up, analyzes your calendar, notices you have a destination wedding coming up, and autonomously decides to purchase you a linen suit.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, that would be an unmitigated disaster for liability. Instead, they are engineering highly specific conditional parameters. Think of it like a highly sophisticated digital escrow.
Okay, so there are limits.
very strict limits.
Yeah.
An agent might be programmed to automatically reorder a specific brand of specialized manufacturing ink, but the execution of that payment is locked behind a sequence of digital tripwires.
Tripwires, like,
Well, the factory's internal sensors must report that ink levels have dropped below 10%. The current market price must be validated against a historical 30-day average to prevent price gouging, and the vendor's shipping timeline must meet production schedules. What's fascinating here is that even with those strict user-defined fences in place, we are still fundamentally creating a system where an algorithm is the initiator of commerce.
right, because payments no longer always begin with a human clicking a mouse. They begin because a piece of code met a condition, parsed the variables, and pulled the trigger.
And the moment you allow code to pull the trigger, you realize that the legacy infrastructure of the global financial system is completely incompatible with the future we are building.
Because it expects a person.
Exactly. The entire architecture of modern banking relies on verifying a biological entity. When a transaction occurs today, the system runs a gauntlet of checks designed to prove human involvement.
Right. It wants a CVV code or a biometric scan of a face or fingerprint.
Or a multi-factor authentication text message sent to a device held by a human. The banking rails are designed to ask, are you the human who owns this account?
Here's where it gets really interesting. Visa's strategy for answering that problem is explicitly labeled as infrastructure first, interfaces later.
Yeah, they're not rushing a product to consumers.
Right. They are not trying to build a shiny new consumer-facing AI shopping app with a cute mascot. They are ripping up the floorboards of the financial system to redesign the underlying payment rails, the invisible digital pipes that move money between banks worldwide.
Which is a monumental task.
It's huge, because if the system assumes a biological entity is on the other end, but an AI agent is initiating the purchase at 3:00 a.m. while I am fast asleep, how does the machine prove to the bank that it has my consent?
It can't, not with the old tools.
It's like having to invent an entirely new category of driver's license specifically for a self-driving car. The car doesn't have a date of birth, it doesn't have an eye color, and it doesn't need glasses to see at night. The old metrics of identity simply do not apply.
To solve that identity crisis, the engineering teams are moving away from static credentials, like a 16-digit card number. Instead, the sources point to the deployment of dynamic, machine-specific authentication systems.
What does that actually look like in practice?
We are talking about the use of cryptographic tokens and ephemeral, single-use virtual cards generated via API in real time. When your AI agent decides to make a purchase, it doesn't type in your credit card number.
Okay.
It requests a uniquely encrypted token from your bank that is only valid for that specific merchant for that exact dollar amount and expires in a matter of milliseconds.
Wow, so it's instantly useless afterward.
Precisely. The definition of a customer is fundamentally fracturing. A customer used to be a person holding a piece of plastic. Now, a customer is an intelligent, continuously operating software system acting instantly on data feeds without ever holding a physical credential.
I am looking at the liability framework required to support that kind of ephemeral machine-to-machine transaction, and it seems like an absolute legal nightmare.
Oh, it's incredibly thorny.
Let's say I run a large agricultural business, and I set my AI to purchase crop futures or fertilizer based on a data feed from a highly reputable third-party weather API.
Makes sense on paper.
But if that weather app glitches and erroneously predicts a massive region-wide freeze, my AI reacts instantly to that data and buys up a massive surplus of supplies at premium prices. Who is left holding the bag for that mistake?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. The bank will say they just executed the authorized token. The weather app's terms of service will absolve them of financial liability for data inaccuracies. The AI developer will say the code functioned exactly as designed based on the inputs it received. I am the one who loses millions of dollars because the machines talk to each other flawlessly based on bad information.
Industry observers analyzing these exact liability gaps are drawing heavy parallels to the early, chaotic days of e-commerce in the 1990s. We forget how terrifying the internet was to the financial sector initially.
I remember people refusing to buy anything online.
Totally. The idea of typing your sensitive credit card information into a web browser and transmitting it across the world seemed wildly reckless. The banks had no infrastructure for it.
So they had to build it as they went.
Exactly. They had to invent secure socket layer encryption, entirely new fraud detection algorithms that looked at IP addresses instead of zip codes, and sweeping new consumer protection laws regarding chargebacks completely from scratch.
The entire ecosystem had to evolve to accommodate online human behavior.
And we are at the precipice of an identical evolution, but this time the system must adapt to machine behavior.
Hmm.
And machine behavior is a completely different beast.
It's so much faster.
Drastically faster.
Yeah.
It operates simultaneously across hundreds of platforms, and it's largely invisible to the end user. The banks participating in these European pilot programs are dedicating the vast majority of their resources to this compliance and liability piece because the financial upside of agentic payments is astronomical, but the complexity of unwinding a high-speed machine error is staggering.
Because redesigning the foundational plumbing of the global economy is fraught with such massive systemic risk, you obviously cannot test this new authorization infrastructure by letting everyday consumers use AI to buy coffee or concert tickets.
No, the stakes are too high for public failure.
A mistake at the consumer level breaks public trust instantly. So, to test this safely, the industry is forced to start behind closed doors in the most heavily audited environment possible.
Right, which leads us to B2B.
Exactly. The sources are definitive on this. The first large-scale adoption of agentic AI payments is happening in B2B, business-to-business enterprise environments.
The enterprise environment is the perfect proving ground because it suffers from massive institutional friction. If you look at how massive corporations actually manage their procurement cycles, supply chain bottlenecks, and vendor management, it is shockingly archaic.
It's just endless paperwork.
Yes, it requires multiple layers of middle management approvals, manual cross-referencing of budget spreadsheets, and protracted email chains just to authorize routine supply orders.
It's an environment where the administrative cost of buying something often rivals the cost of the item itself.
Agentic AI is perfectly positioned to obliterate that friction. Imagine an AI agent integrated directly into a massive automotive manufacturer's supply chain network.
Okay, picturing that.
It continuously monitors the telemetry data from the factory floor, predicts a shortfall in microchips based on current production velocity, instantly pings the APIs of 5 different global suppliers, negotiates the best bulk rate based on real-time shipping logistics, and executes the purchase via an ephemeral cryptographic token before a human procurement officer has even poured their first cup of coffee.
The operational acceleration is unprecedented, but the sources also highlight an immense compliance headache tethered to that acceleration. Financial institutions operate under incredibly strict regulations regarding anti-money laundering and strict auditability requirements.
Oh, absolutely. The regulators don't care how fast your AI is.
Right. You cannot simply let a black box algorithm spend corporate funds. Every single penny must be tracked, justified, and logged. So the engineering focus right now is entirely on ensuring the AI produces a transparent, immutable ledger of its decision-making process.
If a corporate auditor flags a transaction and asks, why did this company purchase 500 tons of raw aluminum on a Tuesday afternoon at a 12% markup?
You can't just say, well, the computer did it.
Right. The answer cannot be the algorithm optimized for it. The company must be able to produce an exact log showing the data inputs the AI received, the specific logic pathways it followed, and the user-defined parameters that permitted the final execution of the trade.
And I have to push back on the enthusiasm surrounding this operational acceleration because the research notes highlight a genuinely alarming trend. Systemic risk is already increasing.
It is. We're already seeing the cracks.
Industry reports show that AI-related incidents in banking and automated trading are becoming more frequent, and we are seeing incidents that cause multi-million-dollar losses. We've seen flash crashes in the past where automated trading scripts get caught in a feedback loop.
Yeah, rapidly buying and selling based on the market impact of their own automated actions, artificially inflating prices in seconds.
Exactly. If we automate the procurement and payment processes for the world's largest enterprises, aren't we just risking automating their financial mistakes at a much, much faster rate?
It's a very real danger.
A human procurement officer might make a typo on a purchase order and overpay for a shipment of steel once. An AI agent operating at light speed could interpret a faulty pricing signal and repeat that mistake 1,000 times, draining a corporate account and the time it takes to refresh a web page.
That is a highly valid, critical concern, and it is precisely why the architecture of these systems must prioritize governance over pure innovation. The sources emphasize that deploying agentic payments without robust escalation protocols is a recipe for disaster.
So what does an escalation protocol look like in this context?
It means the AI is programmed with strict confidence thresholds. If a vendor's API returns a price that is 3 standard deviations outside the historical norm, the AI must instantly halt the transaction and flag a human supervisor.
Oh, so there is a human safety net.
There has to be. Regulators are not sitting quietly on the sidelines watching this unfold. They are already heavily scrutinizing the opaque nature of AI in credit scoring and algorithmic trading, demanding explainability and accountability.
So agentic payments are definitely on their radar.
Agentic payments, where the AI actually holds the keys to the treasury, are absolutely next on the regulatory radar. Without those hard-coded boundaries, automation doesn't eliminate the old risks of commerce. It just introduces entirely new, hyper-accelerated vulnerabilities.
So what does this all mean? We are looking at a fundamental structural change in the architecture of the global economy.
We really are.
The basic trigger of economic activity is shifting from a conscious human decision to an automated machine execution. Historically, when we see controlled, highly regulated pilots like Visa's Agentic Ready program happening quietly behind the scenes with major financial institutions, those pilots are laying the invisible groundwork for tomorrow's everyday standard.
It always starts at the enterprise level.
Exactly. Just as the terrifying experimental days of transmitting credit card numbers over early web browsers evolved into the completely mundane reality of one-click online shopping today, agentic payments will eventually trickle down from enterprise supply chains to your personal bank account.
It's just a matter of time.
For you listening, it means you need to prepare for a future where your role as a consumer might fundamentally shift. You might transition from the act of doing the shopping to the role of a financial manager who simply sets the rules.
Delegating the busy work.
Right. Your digital delegates, your agentic AI, will navigate the friction of commerce in the background, executing your logic while you sleep. You become the architect of your money rather than the manual operator.
And that impending transition leaves us with a fascinating, almost philosophical ripple effect to consider regarding the broader economy. Think about the multi-billion-dollar advertising and marketing industries.
Oh, that's an interesting angle.
Their entire existence is currently built around persuading human emotion. They rely on creating a sense of urgency, selling an aspirational lifestyle, leveraging the fear of missing out, or, targeting our insecurities.
Yeah, that's advertising 101.
But if the future of commerce is driven by AI agents perfectly executing strict, logic-based parameters, optimizing purely for the lowest price per unit, the highest objective utility, and the exact technical specifications we asked for, how do those industries survive? You cannot psychologically manipulate an algorithm.
Wow. You can't make a piece of Python code feel insecure about its wardrobe, and you can't use a flashy billboard to convince an API to ignore its budget constraints.
No, you really can't.
That completely breaks the foundational model of modern advertising. It really brings it all back to that physical muscle memory we talked about at the very beginning.
The tap and the swipe.
Yeah. That satisfying click of the checkout button, that affirmative beep of the card tap, those physical actions are so often driven by our human desires, our sudden impulses, or complex emotions. But when those physical actions fade away and the invisible algorithms take over the execution of our spending, commerce stops being a game of psychological persuasion and becomes a pure exercise in logic and efficiency. It is a wildly different world.